Adult kids returning home, how does that affect your retirement? Inflation weighs heavily on retirees' finances and their minds. And finally, annuities. Is it the right thing for your portfolio? All that and more on today's episode of Elevate Your Wealth.
And now, Elevate Your Wealth with Mark Stimpson and Casey Elkins.
Welcome in to Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimpson and Casey Elkins, located right here in Seattle at Elevated Financial Management. 42 plus years experience combined in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick. My pleasure to go back and forth with the advisors each and every week. And it's always about the importance of having a plan, being proactive as opposed to reactive. And hey, retirement's coming for all of us. Make sure you are ready for it. Gentlemen, as always, we jump into the show. We've got some articles we're going to talk about today. We're also going to give our listeners an opportunity to get on your calendar with a complimentary appointment. But let's just start. Mark, how was your week?
It was good. We got some great weather happening right now in Seattle that isn't the norm usually for June here. When June gloom and like it is in San Francisco, we got usually a whole month. But weather's beautiful. So many great things happening in the office. Looks like we just hired another advisor. So really, everything is looking good. As we talked about last week, we're implementing some new things that we learned and discussed at a mastermind meeting in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to the next 12 months and helping our clients figure out retirement and giving them some strategies that may change the course of their retirement, and we're excited about it.
I'll tell you, it's always important to just continue your growth as advisors and working with some of the best in the country, getting together from time to time and just sharing your thoughts on the business and how retirement planning has evolved over the years. I mean, that is going to make your practice that much better. Casey, how was your week?
Oh, it's been great. Yeah. Similar comments. I mean, we're just excited about where things are going. We're always excited to help the folks that we get to help in retirement. But even beyond that, it's also nice that we are able to hire local people that can come in and help, and we get to see the impact that we have on their lives and, how it affects their families. And so, it's great. I mean, we're very much appreciative of the part that we get to play, and we're appreciative of our staff, our listeners. We appreciate you, Morgan. I mean, you do a wonderful job of helping us keep the show flowing smoothly. And, we're really excited to be here and be in the position that we're in. And, I look around, we watch the news, obviously, every day. We track the market. We see what's going on. And, it's wild, right? I mean, the world is wild right now. Things, especially in the U.S., are crazy. And then you look at the stock market and just the impact that has on people's retirements. I mean, it's very, very obvious. It doesn't need a lot of explanation, but it's exciting for us because it's really helping to open the eyes of a lot of people, to help them recognize, I need to do something, right? I need to make a change. I need to make sure that I'm prepared for what's coming. I need to be able to deal with what's going on right now. And, we always come back to a plan, but it's been great. We've been able to help a lot of folks lately, as we always do. But, things are going really well.
No, I tell you, it's a feel good, man. We get to jump on the radio and we want to help. There are a lot of people out there that are maybe floundering a bit, not knowing what to do. It's okay. There are a lot of you out there that haven't started the planning process. You've done well with the saving. You've put it away in the portfolio, but now you need that planning to get started. So, folks, we're going to give you an opportunity to get rolling on it or get a second opinion, so stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, each and every week you guys grab some of the most interesting articles from around the retirement world, and we're going to talk about this first one that you brought to my attention. Adult kids returning home can threaten the parents' retirement, and that's according to one of the surveys that you have in front of you. I see this happening a lot. I see a lot of kids. They can't do it, and all of a sudden they're back on the doorstep.
Yeah, we call that the boomerang child, right? Now I've got 3, and the great part for me so far is none of them have boomerang back home. But we know clients that have this happening on a fairly regular basis. There's a really important sentence in here that I want to stress. It says, taking care of your adult children is an extremely caring act of love. but it also requires a delicate balance between a desire to help and your own financial planning. And this, one of the guys that wrote this article talked about this is why he believes it's so important that we're working with a financial planner to be able to deal with long-term goals. And he makes this other very interesting statement. He says, I know firsthand the stress this can put on families with kids coming back home. And then he goes, with the right advice and planning, parents can develop a strategy for helping their adult children without jeopardizing their financial goals. And I think that's really what we all want to be able to do, right? Want to be able to help our children, but not possibly jeopardize you being able to retire. Now, maybe you've helped a child out, and now you've got to work an extra year or two. There's all type of things that are coming up on a regular basis, and we just want our listeners, because I know probably several of you out there are thinking, yep, this is exactly what's happened in my family. My kids can't afford a house right now, and housing is really what's causing the biggest concern when it comes to this problem.
It is, yeah. The housing is wildly expensive, and I would venture to guess that, this study was not a study that was done just in Washington or in our part of Washington, but just based on how expensive things are in our area of Washington, I'd be willing to bet that these numbers are a lot higher. So, according to this, 46% of parents, so almost 50%, said that they have adult children moving back home. That's huge, right?
Number.
And again, I would be willing to bet that that's a higher number in our area. It says here 38% say that long-term financial goals have been impacted, and 39% say it's undercut their savings for short-term goals like vacations.
Yeah.
Again, I would think those numbers are higher in our area, just with the cost of living, housing specifically. And, we see it all the time. We have a lot of clients that are helping their adult children. And as the article brought out, as Mark highlighted, it is a very caring thing to do. It's a very loving thing to do. But at the same time, it still needs to be strategic, right? Because you don't want the help that you offer to ultimately create a massive issue for you in the future with your retirement. And so it comes down to planning for those things. It comes down to building that into the plan. Maybe a portion of the income that you have is going to be allocated towards helping children or something like that. But, if you keep your kids on the payroll for too long, then that really can cause an issue long term. And so, again, right, it's about making sure that everything is playing together like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think there was a really interesting point made here where it says that a lot of the young adults that got, asked to talk about the situation, they made this statement. It said, 60% report that their parents have not discussed with them how supporting them has affected their own financial planning.
Yeah.
See, that's a statistic all the listeners need to be thinking about. The problem is when it comes to money, a lot of times we don't want to talk about it, right? Everybody keeps it very private.
Yep.
We don't want to discuss it. But this can be a problem if you don't, right? Because sometimes children might believe that the parents' bank. I remember I had a shirt that said the Bank of Dad. Right? And it's like an ATM that never empties, right? And that's the thing we want to talk about today and let everybody know this is something that you need to discuss because it can impact the parents drastically.
Sure.
And I think if the children might have known that it was impacting them like that, they may say, hey, I don't want to do that, Mom and Dad. I don't want to mess your retirement up. So I think communication is what we're really talking about. You need to have these kind of discussions with your children if they are coming back home.
We all remember the shirts, right? My money and my child go to whatever university.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because you're paying for their college, and the same thing can be said when the adult child comes home. And again, I'm a former, and I do mean former, ocean lifeguard, and I remember, during some of our training, even if you are an indoor YMCA, community pool lifeguard, you go through the training, and the one thing that they really stress to you is if you are in a rescue situation, you got to remember the person that's being rescued may pull you under. So if you do not have a plan, you could be in just as much trouble as they are. So you have to approach it. You have to put that life preserver, the buoy, between the two of you so you don't get pulled under. And I can equate that to retirement planning and having the kid come home. I mean, if you're not careful, they could pull you under.
Yep, yeah. That's exactly right. And, that makes me think of another way or another illustration, I guess, to make that point is if you're in an airplane, right, they go over the safety rules and everything. What is the first thing that they tell you if the masks come down? You put the mask on yourself first, and then you take care of the people around you. And there's a lot of truth to that. And that's something that has to be considered in this type of situation. So for those listening, if you've got questions about this, about how your kids living at home or coming back home, boomeranging home, we could say, is going to affect your retirement, and you want to make sure that it's not going to be a lasting detrimental effect, this is your opportunity to get a written financial plan. We will sit down with you. We'll talk about your individual circumstance, the risk that you're taking, when to start Social Security, how your investments perform in an up market, in a down market, what all of this looks like over the next 20 or 30 years. So if you'd like to find out more, if you'd like to have that customized written financial plan, don't hesitate. Pick up the phone and give us a call now.
This is complimentary. You're leaving the checkbook at home. 866-668-3625. That number again, 866-668-3625. That'll grab you one of the appointments. They do go fast, so call now, 866-668-3625. When we return on Elevate Your Wealth, we'll dive into inflation. And folks, it is having an impact on retirees. We'll talk about it next. We are back on Elevate Your Wealth, powered by Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. Your hosts are Mark Stimpson and Casey Elkins, 42-plus years combined experience in the retirement planning business, certified financial fiduciaries helping their clients get ready for retirement. I'm Morgan Patrick. My pleasure to go back and forth with the advisors, and it's always about, having the plan, being ready, but also taking a look around the country, around the world on things that are going to impact retirement. And right now, we're going to get to this article, gentlemen. You brought it to my attention. Inflation weighs heavily on retirees' finances and also their psyches. And folks, this is real, and it's happening right now.
It is, yeah. This is affecting. I mean, it's affecting everybody, really, right? Well, I think what's different, right, is for retirees. You recognize that you can't go in and ask for a cost of living raise, right? You don't have the ability to negotiate into a different job with a higher salary or get a pay bump or something like that, right? So the idea of a quote unquote fixed income makes this a little bit more stressful. And there's a lot of statistics in this. We're not going to dig into every single one of them, but I thought this one is kind of here at the start. It says 45% say that their expenses are higher than they expected, and 62% report that they have no idea how long their savings will last. Both of those are nightmare scenarios, right? To feel and find out that you're already in retirement and now your expenses are more than you expected. And, hopefully it's not drastically more, but I'm willing to bet that it probably is for a lot of folks. And I think I just want to bring this home real quick that that this is something that we see all the time. When we start talking with folks about what type of income that they need in retirement, right, Mark? I mean, ultimately, we see people kind of do this funny thing where they start to try and condense, and they go, well, I could live on $6,000, but maybe if I cut this out, I could live on $5,000, and I could probably live on $4,000 a month. And our thought is, well, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun in retirement, right? Let's figure out how to get you the most income so you can go live your life, right? If $4,000 is what it takes for you to just sit on the couch and watch TV, I'm pretty sure that's not what you want to do in retirement, right? So we really want to figure out what it takes for you to enjoy your retirement. And then our philosophy is, let's add some more income to that, because you're never going to be upset about having more income, right? Yeah. You're never going to come back and say, hey, guys, I really wish I didn't have as much income as I've got, right? This is a real problem. No, that's a great thing, right? So to try and figure that out, and not only does it help with the emotional aspect of retirement, but it also helps for when inflation does get crazy. We know that we have a buffer. We have a cushion of safety. And that's really the type of plan that you want. Whether you get it from us or from anybody else, that's the type of plan that you want, that has a safety, that has a cushion built into it, so you know you're going to be okay. That's the whole goal here.
Yeah, there's a very important sentence in this article right in the middle. It says, importantly, 84% of retirees want to better protect their savings from inflation. To me, it should be 100%, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're
Surprised it's
independently
not,
wealthy.
right?
Yeah, exactly. All we have to do is go to a gas station, and in our area, when are we ever going to get away from $4.50 to $5 a gallon? It's been going
Only
on.
when it goes to 6.
It goes the wrong way.
It's ridiculous, right? You go down to Arizona or the Midwest, and they're at 3. And we understand how painful this is to deal with. I go back to the SIPS report that we create for clients, and when we show them, when they tell us what their retirement number is, and I'm going to use $80,000 a year as a good ballpark. We always inflate a base COLA of 2.5%, right, on that number, and it is amazing at what $80,000 needs to be. I wish I'd have done the math. What it needs to be in only 5 years. 80,000 is going to be 90-some thousand, right? And that's the bottom line. And so you have to have a plan for this because it does matter. So it can be staggering if you don't consider that. And here's another issue. We have a lot of Boeing clients, right?
Yeah.
And if they were fortunate enough and worked at Boeing long enough, now the pensions, of course, have been gone away from Boeing for probably about 14 years now. But they are static pensions if you're fortunate enough to have one. What does static mean? It means that what you start with in year one is what you get 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road. So there's no inflation built into that. One of the few pensions left in the country is ones that people that have worked for the federal government or the state government or some city governments will have COLAs built in. But they're pretty much, pensions are a thing of the past, and especially ones that are inflated, that have COLA adjustments baked into them.
Yeah, that does help a lot. And I think there's some other numbers here that, despite inflation, right, just in general when it comes to retirement planning, surveyed participants were asked to describe their financial situation, and they were given 5 different ways to describe it. The best was living the dream, right? Second was comfortable. Third was not great, but not bad. Then struggling, and then finally living the nightmare, right? So we don't want anybody to have that. But when we look at the percentage of these, this is really interesting. Only 5% said that they are, quote unquote, living the dream.
Now, I've said that sarcastically at work before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, of course, right? I think we've probably all said that one. But only 5% are living their dream in retirement, right?
That's scary.
It
That
is.
is scary.
It is scary, right? Because these are supposed to be the golden years. This is what you worked 40, 45, 50, whatever time frame you worked. This is what you worked all those years for, saving and building for retirement. And only 5% of people get to realize what they had hoped to realize. Now, the second was comfortable. 37% of people said they're comfortable. That's a pretty decent number, but gosh, I'd like it to be a lot higher. It's not really as high as you'd want it to be because, again, right?
Yeah.
These are golden years. This is, you should be out living your life. You should be enjoying your time, not worried about inflation, not worried about taxes, not worried about what the market's doing or the overall economy. You should be out enjoying your life with the financial freedom that you've been fighting to have all these years. The next one, 39% said not great, but not bad.
The highest.
Now, listen, guys,
Yeah, that's the highest one.
I understand when they were making the survey, it was going to be titled either not great, but not bad, or eh.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, right. It's not, maybe they're not super stressed, but they're not enjoying it, right? At least that's not the impression I get from that. And then here, 16% said that they're struggling. That number's way too high. 3% said they're living a nightmare. And this is what this really comes down to is about having a plan, right? And setting proper expectation for yourself. And you know what? If you haven't saved enough money for retirement, there's only so much that you can do, right? That's just the reality of it. So
But you can start. You can do something.
Yes, you can do something, right? And I think that's the key, is that even if you haven't saved enough for retirement, that doesn't mean that all hope is lost. Now, if you haven't saved anything for retirement, different conversation. But if you haven't saved enough, it doesn't mean that you can't do something. It doesn't mean that there isn't a way to improve the path that you're on or still enjoy your time. And not only that, but if you haven't saved enough, would you rather know now or 10 years into retirement when your money's running out, right?
Now.
This is the time to figure it out.
Yes.
I want to piggyback what Casey's saying. I hope our listeners listen to this. It says many retirees are facing financial challenges and stress, but listen to this number. 64% don't work with a financial professional, and 44% lack a plan for estimating expenses, calculating how much income is needed, and formulating a strategy to meet these goals. But this was the point I really loved. The path to closing the retirement savings gap is paved with better planning, better products, and access to advice.
Yep.
And that's really what we're talking about here, all you listeners. Work with somebody that can help you truly put a plan together. And that's what we want to share with you now. If you're struggling, maybe you are stressed out a little bit. You're worried about taxes. You're worried about inflation. You're worried about your income. Maybe you're just making ends meet. Is there a better way to do it? Please pick up the phone and give us a call. If you saved at least $250,000 or more, these strategies will work best for you. But the point is, give us a call. We want to have a conversation. You're going to keep your checkbook at home. We're just going to talk about your specific situation. Let our team of planners give you some help. That's really what we're talking about. We want you to know that it's not all hope is lost. And so please give us a call, because we truly can help. And again, taxes are a big issue that are going to be increasing, along with Social Security changes. Everybody's a little stressed out about Social Security right now too, and what to do there. So please give us a call. Let our team put together a plan that's really going to make your retirement turn out to be reality and not just a fairy tale.
We have been discussing the Schroders 2025 U.S. Retirement Survey that found a whole bunch of worries, and that number that Mark just gave us, 64% of the surveyed, they don't work with a professional when it comes to their retirement, and 44% of the survey, they don't have a plan. If you're in that group, this is your opportunity to get rolling on it. Grab one of these complimentary appointments. You can do so by calling 866-668-3625. Again, there's no charge to this. You're leaving the checkbook at home. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call the number. You're going to walk out with a written financial plan. 866-668-3625. One more time, 866-668-3625. When we return, annuity market offering new opportunities amid the uncertainty, and that's right where we are. We'll talk about that coming up next. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimpson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management, 42 plus years combined experience between these two in the retirement planning business. And again, it's about helping their clients get ready for retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. My pleasure, Morgan Patrick, to go back and forth with the advisors each and every week. And on this show, we bring you the cutting edge articles when it comes to retirement, and we have a discussion on it. We also give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management, and the appointments that we open up through this show, they are complimentary. That means you leave the checkbook at home, so stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, living the dream, as we like to say. U.S. annuity market offers new opportunities amid uncertainty, so let's talk it. It's a dirty word for a lot of people, annuities.
Yeah, we always say the A word, right? And the interesting thing about this is Casey and I are not annuity guys, right? We don't try and push annuities in the wrong situation. But what I will say, certain dollars, if we have a purpose for our money, whether it be to pay for long-term care, to leave a legacy. We might need to look at life insurance. Do we want to create income? Pay for certain things when it comes to health care? Do we want a Med Sup or Med Advantage plan? All of these things take purpose, right? And dollars directed a certain way. And one of the things that Casey and I have studied a long time here in our practice is what is the best way to create guaranteed income? Because we pretty much ask every client that comes in here, do you want your income to be variable or do you want it to be guaranteed? And you know what? 99% of the time, guarantee is what comes out.
Yep.
So all these other people that want to say that variable is what people are okay with, we would totally disagree with that. It doesn't work that way. People want to know. That's why people love pensions, if they have them, that they're fortunate to have a pension. The problem is pensions have gone away. So annuities fill a role or have a role that's very specific. It's the best way to create income that's guaranteed and has longevity protection built into it. We talked with a client about that today, that exact thing he was concerned about, right? That what would happen, if he dies. Now, if you've got a spouse, we can list her and create the same income stream so there's no widow's penalty. So income matters here if you're listing, and we want to create guaranteed income that's not on a maybe scale.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's really it, right? If your boss came to you and said, hey, Morgan,
Yes.
you don't have to come to work anymore, but we're going to continue to pay you. I mean, would you say no to that, right?
Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly, right? I'll take it. That's what everybody's looking for, right? Is they want their paycheck to continue in retirement. They just don't want to have to go to work to get it. So how do you do that, right? Yep. And you can do it using the market, but the market is very volatile. It's up and down. And even if you use dividends or you use bonds, those are not guaranteed things, right? Whereas an annuity does produce income guaranteed. Oftentimes that income is higher than what you can get from dividends or bonds, and it's going to pay you for the rest of your life. And that's really what folks are looking for, but people are scared of the word, right? And so that's why we're talking about this today, because people are afraid of what they don't understand, right? Yep. And we don't want annuities to be the boogeyman. We don't want annuities to be the monster in the closet, when in reality, that's not how they all are, right? We're not saying that every annuity is the right annuity. We're not saying that everybody needs an annuity. That's not the point here. But we're more encouraging to keep an open mind, because it does have the right fit for a lot of folks. And the article really goes on to prove that.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been banging the drum on education since we started this show. Yep. And it's about, finding out as much as you can about everything that goes into your retirement plan. Mm-hmm. And there might be, and I think where the annuity gets the bad rap is something happened 10, 15 years ago to a relative, and it was an annuity, and so everybody has this, they formulated their definition, the meaning of an annuity based on that. Well, things have changed, and the numbers are saying it. I'm looking at your article, and in 2024, record high annuity sales. Yes. So the education part of this is getting out there.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that, Morgan. It says right here, since 2015, FIA, which stands for fixed indexed annuity sales have increased more than 137% to $127 billion, almost $127 billion in 2024. That's huge. And so, I'm not necessarily a crowd mentality type of guy, like if everybody else is doing it, I should do it too. That's not really what we're saying here. But our point is, if annuities were the wrong fit for so many people, there's no way that this much money would be pouring into annuities. So keep an open mind and find out if there is an annuity that fits you and it fits your circumstance, and if it's the best thing for you. And that has to come from a conversation with somebody who knows more about annuities than you do, right? That's the only way to do it.
Remember the scene from Ted Lasso when he's in the bar and he's throwing darts?
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that scene.
And he said, you need to be curious, right? You need to be curious. You don't go blindly into something. And this was obviously a wager in the bar about setting the lineup for the soccer club, the football club. And one particular person was pretty good at darts, but just assumed that because Ted was from America, He didn't know anything about darts,
I see. Yeah.
but he wasn't curious. Same thing goes for annuities. What we're saying is educate yourself, be curious, ask questions. There could be a good fit.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Morgan, because we just had a client, basically Casey talked with him, and at the end of the conversation, he just said, you know what, Casey, I think ask a question, what would you like to have, or something along that line.
Yeah, just kind of
right?
asked, hey, from our conversation today, was there anything else that you wanted to share with me, right? Just kind of gave him the floor, right?
Yeah, and you know what his response was? He goes, I wish I had a pension. Yeah. Okay, and he's got a fair amount of money that he's saved, but the point is, he mentioned pension, and every pension plan in America is an annuity contract. Every one of them. Boeing, we had a strike that got settled about a year ago, but it was a big deal. And you know what the number one concern was? What did they want back, Case?
It starts with an A.
Yep. They wanted that annuity back. They wanted the pension back. Why is that? Because they knew that they could count on that, and they wish they would have never have gotten rid of it. So all these people that want to tell us how bad annuities are, I don't believe they're doing a service to the American public. They're not true fiduciaries in our book, because if you can prove to me what else will create better income, I'm all ears. We would be all over that in our practice. But annuities aren't for everybody. Every client doesn't have an annuity. But if you need income, it's the best way to do it. So again, it's all about education.
It is, and it's all about purpose, really. I mean, it really, really is, right? It's about purpose. It's about finding a need inside of a retirement plan and filling that need somehow, right? Dedicating specific dollars to specific purposes, and oftentimes creating income, specifically guaranteed income. The annuity is the best way to do that, right? And it really does work quite well for a lot of people. Again, is it the right thing for everybody? No, it's absolutely not. We're really just trying to raise awareness, I guess you could say, right? And help educate and help people to keep an open mind. And we think it's really important that whoever you work with, whether it's here at Elevated Financial Management or it's another firm, wherever it is that you're getting your assistance from for your retirement, we think it's really important that whoever's sitting on the other side of that table from you has every tool in the tool belt available, right? Every tool in the tool belt available, not being limited to just being able to help you on an annuity, but also not being limited to just showing you things that are invested in the market and not worrying about anything else. What about long-term care and life insurance and annuities, things like that? If somebody only has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Yep. And suddenly you're trying to use that one tool in every single circumstance. And here's the deal. You can drive a screw with a hammer. It just doesn't work like it's supposed to, right? So the point being, take the time, have the conversation, ask the questions. I love what you said, Morgan. Be curious, right? Because that curiosity only leads to a greater wealth of information. And the more you know, the less nervous you're going to be about whatever investment that is. And that will help bring the walls down to figure out if it is the right thing for you. But again, the only way to figure that out is to have a conversation.
It's amazing you mentioned that, because how many clients have we seen, whether it's at our classes that we teach at the college level or that come into our office, when they finally truly understand what the annuity does and how they really work, not what Uncle Fred said or Aunt Wilma. The bottom line is they're like, I had no idea that it was like this, right? We hear it over and over again. And that's all we want our listeners to, like you mentioned, keep an open mind, because if you do, you might be pleasantly surprised of what an annuity can do if it's used in the right way.
Right. And the group you're working with should take a consultative approach. They should be asking you what you need, what you want, what you're currently invested in, how those investments have performed, and starting to try and find those gaps and then filling those gaps with the right tool. If you talk with somebody and the first thing out of their mouth is annuity, I'm with you. That's not a real comfortable conversation. But I'd say the opposite of that is true. If you talk with somebody and the first thing out of their mouth is market money and this and that, that's not real comfortable from my perspective either. It really should be consultative to figure out what it is that you need, what you want, and then how to make that happen. Again, about making your life or making your finances fit your life, not making your life fit your finances.
Yeah, it's not one particular thing. It's a total package, and you need to talk about the entire package. It's your retirement. And I love the story of the client that said he wish he had a pension.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys, I mean, look, in this business, you can talk about it, you can be curious, you can investigate, you can create a pension for, a client that's out there that's concerned. Look, we've got opportunities. We've got complimentary appointments. Mark, tell us about them.
Yeah, if we've just caught something on our show today that has got your interest a little bit, let's talk about annuities. If you've got questions or you just need some answers, or maybe you've heard some good and bad things, come in. Let's have a conversation about how they truly work. Please pick up the phone and give us a call. We want to help you with figuring out income. Where's it going to come from? What about your tax situation, right? Let us create a plan for you, and all we're going to do is have a conversation. We promise that. We don't know if you're going to become a client. We don't know if we want to take you on as a client, but we're willing to do some work up front for you if you'll come in and have a conversation. Leave the checkbook at home, and let's get together.
All right, so if you're curious, call this number, 866-668-3625. It's about your retirement. Call now, complimentary appointment, walk out with a written financial plan, 866-668-3625. When we return, it is time for Scenarios. Elevate your wealth. You're tuned to it. Your hosts, Mark Stimpson and Casey Elkins. Elevated Financial Management, where you can find them right here in Seattle. Check out the website. Great resource for you. EFMNW.com. All letters. EFMNW.com. Links to the TV show, radio shows, and podcast form. It is all about getting you ready for retirement. Again, it's all about the plan. Certified financial fiduciaries, yes, they are. I'm Morgan Patrick. My pleasure to go back and forth with the advisors. And now we are on to our scenarios, and these happen all over the country. I'm going to throw them at the guys, see what they come up with, and take these with a grain of salt. You're listening. You might have a scenario that's similar, but it's not exactly what you're going through. So, if you get an opportunity, grab one of these appointments, come in and talk about your own retirement scenario and get going on a plan or maybe a second opinion. All right, so the first scenario, gentlemen, I'll just throw it up. You guys jump on it, and here it is. They're not sure they're going to need all of their IRA savings, and they'd like to leave something tax efficient to their adult children who are currently in high tax brackets. Can Roth conversions help with legacy planning, and how do you balance the upfront tax hit with the potential long-term benefit to the heirs?
This is something that I think might get missed just a little bit in estate and legacy planning. One of the things we see is what a lot of parents do is, and I'm going to use 3 children. Let's say you have 3 children, and everybody tends to want to do equal shares, right? Right now, if there's 3, most carriers will cause you to have to pick one to get 34% because they won't do 33 1/3. But there's a bigger issue that needs to be talked about here. If you do equal shares, the problem is, what if one of your children is a doctor and makes $1 million a year, and one of them makes $100,000 a year. Let's just use that scenario. If, depending on the type of assets that's being moved to them, and I want to talk about qualified assets here, assets that are pre-tax, IRAs, 401ks that you may not have converted yet to an IRA, those assets, if they're passed to our children, are passed and treated as ordinary income, right? And so if we pass the exact same amount to the higher earning, let's use a doctor in the family, the actual money that is going to be left, and we say it all the time, Casey knows what I'm talking about here, it's not what you have, it's how much you keep. So if you lose a bigger amount due to taxes because you didn't think about the tax ramifications based on maybe our children's tax brackets, you want to start to think about this, because it really can make a huge difference, because there may be some assets that would be better to be passed on to the high earner, and other assets that are going to be better, given and passed on to the lower wage earner. So there's tax planning that can really help We do that in this office. So please, if you're listening, think about this, because you love your children the same, but you may be making a big mistake by passing all of the assets and treating them the same to each child.
You know, and I'll say this: we're talking about IRAs and things, and I think you covered that well, Mark. So I won't say a whole lot there. But if you want to leave something to your kids, an IRA is probably not the best place to do it, right? And just the easy math on it is this: let's say you got $1 million to leave to your kids inside of an IRA. Which wonderful thing. That's great that you're in a position you can do that. I'm sure your kids will appreciate it, all those things. But just from a finance perspective, okay, it costs you $1 million to leave them that IRA, right? They don't get $1 million because they're going to pay taxes on it. Yep. We factor in about 30% taxes on that when it gets inherited, because your child should be working, right, when they inherit that money. So now they're going to stack on hundreds of thousands of dollars to their income over time. That's going to create a lot of taxes for them. So it cost you $1 million to leave them $700,000, right?
Yeah.
That's the exact opposite of what you want, right? Wouldn't it be better for it to cost you $700,000 to leave them $1 million, right? And with life insurance, you can probably do better than that. Mm-hmm. You might be able to pay $200,000 into life insurance and leave them $600,000 or $800,000, and that money is tax-free, right? So if we've got $1 million account, we buy life insurance for $200,000, and that creates a death benefit for our kids. They're going to get that tax-free. Then the other $800,000 that's left in the $1 million account, let's go live our lives with it, right? Take your kids on a trip, go spend time together, take your grandkids to Disneyland, whatever it is, right? But again, this is where keeping an open mind, having the conversation, and working with a group that is specifically catered to retirement planning can bring some different ideas to the table for you, right? And that's really the point here. You want to be tax efficient? I want you to be tax efficient, but it's all depending on the goals. It's depending on the goals and where your assets are at that determine how we create that tax efficiency.
Now, we've said this before on the program. You guys have really hammered this. If you are working with somebody out there and you are headed towards retirement and you are not having the tax conversation, it's time for a second opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Couldn't agree more, Morgan. We have a CPA that is in our office, and taxes and inflation are going to be the biggest eroders of our clients and our own money, right? Your money, Morgan. That's all of us in the same boat. So if you're not working with someone that can help you with tax planning, I think that is a mistake. And, a firm that helps plan, not just do the return, can make a huge difference in what you end up keeping, because somebody's looking out and planning about that. And you don't want to do it, last minute, right? People want to come in and maybe do a Roth conversion in December 15th, and wonder why they can't get it done in time. So again, there's some planning that needs to be done, and please work with someone that does tax planning in their office. It'll really be beneficial.
Important to get ahead of it. There's going to be an opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management during the course of this show. And again, these are complimentary appointments. All you've got to do is call 866-668-3625. Come in and talk about your retirement scenario. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. You're going to walk out with a written financial plan. And again, easy peasy, leaving the checkbook at home, no cost to you. Call this number, 866-668-3625. All right, next scenario. This person has been pitched multiple annuities. Casey, this one's to you. And Mark, obviously chime in. They've been pitched multiple annuities, some with fixed payments, others tied to market performance. They're feeling overwhelmed, and they don't know how to compare them. What's the best way to evaluate different types of annuities, and how do you know if one is a good fit for what is your retirement income plan?
I'll say this, that trying to compare those two types of annuities, it's a bit of an apples and oranges comparison, because they are doing different things. They're both going to create income for you, but one of them does it in a guaranteed way, and the other does it based on performance. And so it's not that one is necessarily better than the other all the time. It's really more so about what your specific circumstance is. Now, I'll share our philosophy as to how we like to create income for folks. We're always inclined towards establishing a high level of guaranteed baseline income that is not dependent on anything else, right? Not dependent on the market return, not dependent on these different factors. And that establishes your kind of baseline lifestyle in retirement, I guess we could say, right? So if we were going to use these types of annuities for somebody, that's probably how we would start. Then if we wanted to, if we had a client that had a little bit more of a risk appetite and was okay with some variability in their income beyond that, then we might look at something that's going to have more of a index performance piece to it or a market return performance to it. Still an annuity, potentially it's going to guarantee some level of income, but the growth of it might be tied to the overall market or something along those lines. But the reality is that most of the time what people really want is guaranteed income as high as they can make it. That's not dependent on anything else, right? So I think to try and compare them maybe is the wrong approach. It's more so about what is it that you're looking for, right? What is it that you want? What is it that your plan really needs to make it successful? And that's going to help make the decision.
One of the things to go along with what Casey just said that we believe is important in our office, if we get a good amount of income, even some extra income, that's going to allow to put the other dollars in what we call the red bucket, the money in the market. And why not swing for the fence? Why not use equities? Because what we're trying to do is grow those dollars the best possible way. Equities are going to do that over the long term, right? So again, that it's all purpose driven. So we like the guaranteed income. It's fixed. And then we will swing for the fence with the other dollars and put it into good companies and try and take emotion out of it and let those dollars go for the next 8, 10, 12, 15 years. Because if you do that, that's what we consider to be a good plan, right? But it all starts with a great income base, right? And we don't want to create income from a variable situation, because if we have to lock in losses, because the market isn't doing right when we're taking money out, then that creates a real problem long term.
Final scenario, we'll hit it real quick. Mark, we'll start with you on this one. They're concerned about the possibility of needing nursing home care later in life and don't want to lose the family home or drain the savings. What steps can retirees take to plan ahead for Medicaid eligibility and protect assets from long-term care costs?
Well, everybody's heard me say I'm in the business because I watched this happen to my grandfather on my dad's side. So it's very real to me, and this will happen. We're pushing $13,000 a month here in Washington. So you've got 3 ways you can pay for this. You can self-insure, which is what most people do. You can get some sort of either standalone or hybrid life insurance policy, or you go the other route, you go on Medicaid, which means you've gone through all of your money. Those are it. Those are the choices, right? So you've got to look into this, take it seriously, because if you don't, this can be the bomb, the atom bomb that goes off, and it will blow up your plan if you haven't talked about this.
Yeah, this really can create a nightmare. It's something that it's got to be part of a plan. If you want a successful plan for retirement, it's got to be built in. So if you have questions about long-term care, you've got questions about annuities, you want to figure out how to be tax efficient, this is your opportunity to have all of those things built into a written financial plan. We will put that together for you. It's at no cost. It's an opportunity for you to test drive us, to figure out how we plan, the type of folks that we are, how people in our office respond to things. And it gives you an opportunity to really kind of see what that plan might look like, have something custom tailored, custom built just for you. And we will discuss all the concerns, everything that we talk about on our show weekly. So don't hesitate. Please pick up the phone, give us a call. We'd be happy to have a conversation.
Here's the phone number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. Complimentary appointment awaits, 866-668-3625. Another edition of Elevate Your Wealth in the books, powered by Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. For Mark and Casey, I'm Morgan. See you on the radio next week.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.